The Black Codes were a series of laws enacted in the southern United States in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly in the period following the Civil War and during the Reconstruction era. These laws were designed to restrict the rights and freedoms of African Americans and ensure a stable, subservient labor force. While the specific provisions varied by state, the Black Codes generally shared some common elements. African Americans were often required to sign labor contracts with white landowners. These contracts could bind them to work for a specific period, typically a year, and often subjected them to harsh working conditions. Some Black Codes included vagrancy laws that allowed authorities to arrest individuals deemed idle or without visible means of support. This targeted freed African Americans who were unemployed or did not have a labor contract. Some codes established apprenticeship programs, allowing white employers to apprentice African American children without the consent of their parents. This was a form of forced labor and resembled the pre-Civil War practice of slavery. Black Codes reinforced racial segregation by restricting African Americans' rights to use public facilities, attend schools, or live in certain areas. These laws laid the groundwork for later Jim Crow segregation. In some states, African Americans were required to take loyalty oaths to secure their civil rights. These oaths were often designed to be difficult to pass and could include elements that disenfranchised former slaves. African Americans faced severe restrictions on their legal rights. They were often denied the right to serve on juries, testify against whites in court, or bring lawsuits against white individuals. Black Codes introduced harsh penalties for minor offenses. Punishments included fines, forced labor, and imprisonment. These penalties disproportionately affected African Americans and served to re-establish a system of control. Some Black Codes sought to limit African American landownership by imposing strict regulations on property ownership and leasing. This hindered economic independence. The sharecropping system emerged as a consequence of Black Codes. African Americans often became sharecroppers, working on land owned by whites and giving a share of their crops as rent. This system perpetuated economic dependency. Black Codes restricted access to education for African Americans. Separate and unequal schools were established, reinforcing the segregation of races. The Black Codes were a precursor to the more institutionalized segregation and discrimination that would follow during the Jim Crow era. These laws reflected a concerted effort to maintain white supremacy and control the newly emancipated African American population in the aftermath of the Civil War.